This week, I've got Ad Astra, which in my mind I keep referring to as Sad Astra or Sad Brad Astra, because that's all this movie is. It's 2 hours of sad Brad Pitt. Sometimes mad Brad Pitt, so sometimes it's Mad Astra. Basically, the idea is that Brad Pitt is an astronaut, and it's in the not-too-distant future. There's, like, more astronauts than we have now, but it's still a relatively elite program, and I hate movies where, like, the person is basically a superhero, but not actually a superhero. You know, it's like, oh, he's so calm and cool under pressure. His heart rate has never risen above 80 in any panic scenario. And it's like, okay. He should probably actually see a doctor in that scenario. Anyway, the idea is Brad Pitt, astronaut, and the NASA is no longer NASA. It's just kind of this, like, military-ish branch of space exploration. I'm not even sure. Anyway, his father was also in this program and went on this deep space exploration mission, and suddenly all this weird stuff is happening, and so they go, hey, can you try and contact your father? And then a bunch of plot stuff with surprises and twists and turns, blah, 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 unfold. I was very bored during this movie. It's nothing new. It's nothing original. It's every space trope we've ever seen. It's mostly just Brad Pitt on screen, which, like, fine, whatever. You know, I'm okay with movies that are vehicles for people, but Brad Pitt doesn't need that. And the whole time, actually what I kept thinking was, you know what would be more interesting? Instead of this, like, daddy issue, sins of the father trope that we've seen over and over and over again, I would love to see this with, like, a female lead, and, like, a woman has to try and contact her mother, who has been on this deep space exploration mission and thought to be lost and all this sort of crazy stuff. Like, that is a story we technically really haven't seen yet, because we don't get movies with female leads like this. The cast consists of Tommy Lee Jones plays his father, Brad Pitt's character's father. Liv Tyler plays his girlfriend, wife, whatever, who's maybe in it for like 5 minutes. So I'm not sure why she has been involved in any of the press stuff. Ruth Negga is a commander of the Mars base or something along those lines, and she has maybe the most lines of any of the women. Now, admittedly, Brad Pitt has the most lines, the most screen time, the most whatever, but like female characters in this are so... They're just exposition pieces, which drives me insane. Like, give them some sort of depth. Like, Ruth Negga's character has, like, a little bit of a compelling backstory, but it's just so robotic the way that everybody goes about their business. And part of it's like, oh, well, is this corporation or this military branch, like, they kind of force you into this neutrality, like, with the way you go about your lives. But and Donald Sutherland plays, like, a friend of Tommy Lee Jones who is along for the ride. Again, this is nothing we haven't seen before. There are also some, like, kind of bizarre religious undertones. I guess they're overtones. You know, there's a lot of, like, God and space, and I've seen the eyes of this. I've seen it before. You've probably seen it before. I don't know if you need to sit there for 2 hours and see it again. Visually, it's not even, like, necessarily super compelling. Like, there are some good shots of, you know, a lot of tired Brad Pitt, you know, a lot of close-ups, cool, fine. His face is a little craggier now, it's more interesting, but mostly just Brad Pitt. Nothing else is, like, visually revolutionary. You know, the soundtrack's fine, or the score is fine, but just... The more I talk about, like, the more frustrated I am. And there were some moments that were, like, not even trying to avoid cliche. Like, it's tiniest of spoilers. But at one point, he literally says, the sins of the father. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, you really just don't care, do you? You are not going to try and wrap this up in any more complexity or any sort of metaphor or anything. It's literally just this. So I didn't enjoy it. I know there are people out there who are enjoying it. You are welcome to enjoy it. Like, if this is your type of movie, this is your type of movie. I think if you watch the trailer, again, like, this is one of those movies where if you watch the trailer, plot-wise, you might not know what you're in for, but tonally, I think you'll understand, and therefore, if you, like, find it appealing, please go ahead and see this movie. I did not. When I first saw the trailer, I was like, this would have been better as Space Cowboys 2, which it is not. So I was able to kind of gauge, like, my interest in it, and, you know, I didn't go in with any particular expectations, but they weren't mad. So I personally am only going to give this one 2.5 out of 5 because, again, the lack of originality, the kind of banality of the performances, and I know his character is supposed to be kind of quiet and calm, but even when he starts to unravel a little bit, it's still too controlled for me. Like, I would have liked to see, you know, going crazy within the reasonable expectations of what this character should do, and I don't feel like I got that. And so, again, 2.5 out of 5 for Sad, Mad, Brad, Astra, and by that I mean Ad Astra. So the other film I have this week is Downton Abbey, the motion picture event, which I was very much looking forward to. Totally different from Ad Astra. And again, you're going to know exactly what you're getting into if you watch the trailers, because it's just a long episode of Downton Abbey. Like, it's just a 2-hour with a slightly higher production budget of Downton Abbey. In fact, there were some shots of, like, you know, Downton that I was like, oh, we haven't seen these before, because it was like a crane shot and like a crane shot at night. And I was like, oh, that's where your extra budget seems to be going to. Cool. At the same time, it's still a Downton. It's true to Downton. You know, the characters have not changed for better or for worse. They are still the characters we know and love. The set hasn't changed. Like, they very much just picked up where they left off. The movie skips ahead a few years, and the idea is that the king and queen are coming to visit. The whole cast returns. There's a couple, like, new, you know, characters who are just there for the purposes of the plot, but they're not particularly important. You definitely need to have seen Downton to appreciate and understand this movie. This is not for people to just jump in and be like, yes, that's what Downton Abbey's about. No, you need to know, like, the plot, the intrigue, whatever. You don't have to go back and watch all 6 seasons. In fact, I think Downton actually put out a recap, which I didn't get a chance to watch beforehand, but my friend Jana recapped it for me, the last episode for me. I was like, good enough. And the characters are, you're going to remember, right? They're going to remember the important ones. You're going to remember who's who very, very quickly within seeing them. Their interpersonal politics, it's like, okay, whatever. It almost doesn't matter, because every big plot line wipes away allegiances and then, like, builds them up again, right? Like, these two are pairing up and working together now, and these two are an unlikely all that sort of stuff. Everything you'd want from a Downton movie. Again, movie is being generous. This is a Christmas special being released in theaters. But if you don't want to wait for it to come out on home entertainment, or I think it might even come out at Christmas on TV, but whatever, then absolutely worth going to see. See it at some point. It's super fun. You know, it's the usual kind of, it's Downton. There's nothing else. There's no other way to describe it except for it is Downton. The only thing I will take issue with, and this is at the end of the movie, and I won't say, but basically there's this weird moment at the end where oftentimes in the Christmas episodes, you know, it's like, you know, it's going to be a happy ending. They're not trying to set anything, like, traumatic up going into the next season or whatever it was. You know, that's what they do at the end of the seasons, where it's like, oh, you know, Matthew's killed in a car accident or this and that. It's the Christmas episodes and these longer ones always seem to end on a happy note. But this one felt like the need, like, we have to make sure, like, one at least kind of quasi-sad thing happens towards the end. So I was like, why would you do this? Like, you set it up so there was enough, like, drama along the way, and then you just kind of shoehorn this scene in at the end, just in case. I was like, this is unnecessary. Like, so if you are a big Downton fan, you're going to enjoy this movie. If you're not a Downton fan, I don't know why you'd try and see this movie. When it comes to ratings, I'm going to give this 2 different ratings. In looking at it as just a Downton Abbey episode, or in the kind of pantheon of Downton Abbey stories, I'll give it a 4.3 out of 5. We've seen better in some of the specials, but I also think it's because they knew there was another season coming, or they knew whatever else was going, like, so they had somewhere to go with it, or they thought the series was wrapping up. But as far as, like, these kind of, like, longer form episodes, like, of course, it was great. So 4.3 out of 5 as a Downton piece of media. Now, if I'm looking at this under the lens of, like, okay, well, it's a movie technically, so I'm, you know, going to a theater, I'm paying money, it's extra effort to get there, you know, all that sort of jazz, I'd probably lower the rating a little bit, just because, like, and again, you have to know Downton if you're going to see it and want to understand it. So in that sense, I'd probably give it like a 3.8. So let's call it like a 4.1 overall as a thing. But I think if you're a Downton fan, you're going to appreciate it.